All right, good morning, everyone. All right, give me one moment here. Good morning. Good morning. All right, just want to make sure the audio was working okay. All right, so firstly, hopefully everyone had a great New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and day after. The markets were closed yesterday, as I mentioned, so hopefully no one was waiting in the coaching room, as obviously there would be no trading that day. All right, so let's firstly kind of recap some of what happened last week or last year on the 31st. All right. All right, so as far as what was moving on Friday, let's take a look here. ATNF was one of the better performers. Now, I will say that it wasn't the smoothest overall trend, but this was one of the stocks that did jump on the radar. Here is the opening of that day right there. And for the most part, it just went up and gradually went higher and higher. In the middle of the day, basically was sideways, and at the end, towards the latter part of the day, you had a kind of an ending push from here to there. So as long as you were watching it, pretty straightforward. Nothing too difficult to exploit here as far as the movement was concerned. Another stock that actually moved fairly well at the open was Pali, P-A-L-I. So there it is from the open. Sharp move up, but then I believe it got halted, sold off. Then after a bit, just kind of sold off a little bit and then recovered and went straight up. So that one was also fairly simple to exploit. Okay. We had Kala, which was a pretty mixed bag. Of course, Kala's been one of the bigger movers of recent past, but as you can see, on Friday it sold off at first, sideways, jumps up, sells off again, sideways, moves up. So this, some of you did catch this move here, and it was very fast. It wasn't it didn't take 5 minutes for that to go up. It was basically in about a minute and a half, and then that was it. So some of you caught that. I definitely saw it after the fact. So for those of you who did catch it, great. But after that point, really, nothing else. It did make a recovery bounce here, but as you can see, it didn't keep going. It just basically just went sideways. Good morning, Chris. Also, good morning again, Bill, in case you didn't hear me earlier. So not much there for Kala. FSTX did have a positive day, but was pretty bumpy all the way up. You only had maybe a tiny fraction of a good opportunity at the open, maybe about here as well, but overall, nothing too impressive. Right? We had TGTX, which was fairly volatile, all over the place, some up, some down. It did actually trend fairly well towards the end of the day. You can see that from this point onwards, it was pretty smooth. Here, you had a pretty abrupt move up and not much follow through until later. So, not the best opportunity, but there was some movement there at the end. All right, COSM did have a fairly sharp move here. Actually, where is it? Oh, I guess in scale it looks. That's funny. It looks smaller when you look at it in scale because I'm seeing the left side, but here it was. So at first sideways and down, and then nice move up there. And that was it. Good morning, Ed. So this had a quick move early in the session, a recovery bounce, and then that's it. I will be going over the pre-market movers, and COSM is one of them. Also, we had a nice move in lift. Here it is. So you can see there, open lower, sharply went up, and then sold off. This was not that unusual. In fact, we did have a lot of stocks doing that on the same day because the NASDAQ was doing about the same thing. The QQQ had a really decent, well, not at the beginning of the day. The QQQ was going sideways for the most part, and then it did a move at the end of the day. This actually moved fairly well at the beginning, so this was one of the better movers. Also, Tesla had a similar move. As you can see, there it is. It opened lower, sharply went up at the open, but then that was it. So Lyft had a better performance. Tesla did move well at the end of the day, but that was it. And then we have Hoth, which really didn't set up for much. Here it is. So give me 1 second, guys. Okay. All right, so not much on Hoth. TIGR. This one had a decent move at the beginning of the day. And it was very short-lived. It was just one vertical move, and then that was it. So, not really exploitable. It did sell off. Pretty nice downtrend here. So, that was exploitable to the short side. Futu. Very sharp move at the open. Very sharp move at the open. And then it sold off. This was definitely exploitable on the long and short, so that was the long side, and this was the short side, which really was the best opportunity. This is one of the best setups I've seen for a short sale. Nice jumping move, and at the gap lower, nice sharp move up, and then turns around. That. Good morning, Gene. Happy New Year. That usually is good too. And then EVAX. EVAX just sold off, but it's actually active pre-market, so I'll go over that in just a moment. So let's go over our pre-market contenders right now, just stocks that are presently moving. So EVAX is one of them. At present, is trading up 15.49%. There it is right there. So EVAX will be on our radar for this morning. I'll type them all out as one group in just a moment. So EVAX is on the list so far. Also COSM was another one that I saw. It looks fairly active. Actually, let me put Kala's. Kala's also active pre-market. It's under the previous session's close, but it did move up to 47.84, which is a new high for the stock overnight. So I do have to mention that. So KALA is on the radar for today. All right, next up we've got I'll skip ATNF. It is moving, but I'll skip it for now. Um, TGTX looks fairly active as well, but I'll skip it for now. COSM, that one is definitely active. I'll type these out in just a moment. I'm just taking notes right now. Tesla took a drop overnight. Pretty sharp move down. Let's see. Oh, okay. So basically, Tesla got some downgrades this morning for price targets. Uh, Truist Securities dropped it to 299. Deutsche Bank adjusted down to 250. What are their earnings again? There are January 25th. Yeah. So Tesla's earnings are in January 25th. So coming up later. They did get, so the stock is down slightly for Tesla. Tesla is still very extremely low in price compared to what probably is a more appropriate price. But anyway, looking at all the numbers, JP Morgan has a target of 125, lowered from 150, which basically means JP Morgan thinks Tesla's not going anywhere from where it is now, that it's just going to sit around 125. Deutsche Bank thinks 250, but that's a downgrade from 270. I mentioned Truist Securities is 299, downgrade from 348. KGI Securities adjusts the price down to 230 from 360, and et cetera, et cetera. Let's see. Deutsche Bank, I think I already read that one. So Tesla's going to be active today. It's going to be active for a while, both in the long and short direction. So just keep that in mind. But as I mentioned before, there is just like a slew of things that are being thrown at them for whatever reason. So in short, I do think that we're going to see a lot of movement for Tesla going forwards. Now, the NASDAQ currently is actually up. It's above the previous session's close. So this is not, Tesla's decline has nothing to do with the NASDAQ today. That is all based on downgrades, but we'll see how the market reacts at the open. Obviously, the targets are all higher than where the market is exactly now, except for JP Morgan, where it's only slightly higher. So I won't put Tesla on the list to watch as far as specifically watch at the open, but just generally keep an eye on that stock. It's gonna keep moving because there is just a lot of pressure on the stock, and it's hard to say. Like I said, it's not really. It's hard to point to fundamentals for the reason I've looked at the analyst targets, and they basically confirm what I'm saying, that the analysts aren't predicting a collapse of Tesla. They do see the price being higher than where it is now, just not as high, much higher as they were seeing before. No problem there. Generally speaking, analysts will adjust their targets as a combination of what they think for the moment. And if the stock moves sharply, then they'll just adjust their targets up or down to match it. So in a sense, analysts are not always leaders. A lot of times they will follow what the stock is doing. So they won't just project a price change or a price target forever. If the stock's just not going the right way, they'll suddenly just change their targets to be more in line with what the stock's actually doing. So in short, you do have to also consider that. But their opinions do suggest though what they think about the stock, so that's where you're at. So there's definitely a bullish case for the stock, but at the same time there's negative pressure, which is why it's performing so much. So Tesla again, some of you've done really well with that, so if you can keep doing well with that, great. All right, so this is what we got so far. Okay, and I didn't know it was going to print that way. I thought it would print separately. Sorry about that. But those are the three stocks so far. All right, let's jump to look a little closely at the rest of it. And see what else we got. Good, Rick. So let's look at what we've got other than the stocks we've already listed. All right. Let's take a look at this one first. SOUN. Not a stock that's on our radar. Let's check it out. Okay, it's currently down 5%, but this stock went to a high of $2.50 pre-market, so it's selling off now. Don't see any news right now about why the stock is moving. It just is. SoundHound AI. I don't know anything about them. Volume is 1 million shares. I will add this to our general list. I have not published the updated watch list yet. I'm still adding symbols for today, so I'll publish that in the coaching room to the updated list. So SOUN, I'll put that on our radar today. All right, here's another stock that's not on our watch list already, but is really moving. CMMB, Chemo Mab Therapeutics. I don't know anything about them, but it says here that Chemo Mab, I don't know how to pronounce that, reports top-line results from CM-101 Phase 2A liver fibrosis biomarker trial in NASH patients. So that's our, that's what it is. So whatever that means, up 60%, trading 4.4 million shares. So that definitely is added to our list. CMMB is the symbol. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay, Grom. This is on our list. There it is. So GROM. Currently up 18.83%. No specific headline for why, but trading 2.5 million shares, so we'll watch that at the open as well, see what happens. Okay. Um, Bad Bath and Beyond is active today. Let's see. They're releasing earnings on January 10th. Uh, this one, I'm not going to add this for the moment. It doesn't look like this is Bed Bath and Beyond. When people want to trade it, it'll really move. Right now, it doesn't look like that's the case. So I won't add that to the radar specifically for this morning, but it is already on our list. Okay. Let's go through the list to make sure we didn't miss anything. Just looking for some stronger. ATNF, I already mentioned this one. I'm not adding that to something to watch pre-market, but I do notice that it's moving. But if it does start to move strongly at the open, then we'll take a look at it then. All right. So looks like that's it for now. Let me just go through a couple of more stocks. Yeah, Tesla's really active, 6.4 million shares. So as I mentioned, with Tesla, you just have to be nimble, be willing to go long or short, depending on which way it's going. Now, realistically, Tesla, just to put this in perspective, Tesla should consistently find buying interest anytime it gets into the low hundreds, or it hasn't gone below 100 yet. We don't know if it will or won't, but every time it gets below the low hundreds, it gets a pretty sharp amount of buying interest. As I mentioned, there's tons of people who want to buy Tesla. I mean, at least the numbers prove that. So therefore, that one will tend to find support once it gets down to a certain low price. But also psychologically, I think everyone's looking at it like $100. It can't go below that. But that being said, also on the upside, it does have limitations on how far it can go, because right now it seems like there's a very strong resistance to trading above 125. 120s seem to be where the stock is getting stuck. So you basically know the range, where it's going to be, but it's going to trade around a lot. So depending on the day, you can see which way it goes. So right now it's going to open down. My guess, though, is that most of the time you'll probably see the stock go the opposite direction of what it does at the pre-market. So if it's down in the pre-market, it probably goes up during the regular session. And if it's up in the pre-market, then it probably comes down, depending on where it is. If it's up above or in the 120s, then probably it's coming down, right? And if it's down in the lower end of that 100s, low 100s range, then probably it wants to come back up. So we'll see. So probably this will move up at the open. That's my guess. But it will be moving either way. Okay, so the NASDAQ currently creeping higher. It looks like it's going to open higher than where it closed on Friday. The S&P looks about the same. The Dow looks about the same. The Russell, it looks about the same. So, sorry. As far as news is concerned, let's take a look what we got for Tuesday. All right. So for Tuesday, final manufacturing PMI, looks like that's it. So today is going to be very light on major news. Wednesday is going to be busier. You'll have ISM, manufacturing, JOLTS job openings, and you have the FOMC minutes, which of course is the biggest deal. So you got that. So as we get towards the end of the week, we're going to have a lot. Oh, wow. Friday's got a lot of stuff. So as we get towards the end of the week, we're going to have a lot more action. The middle of the week is where it's going to start. So we've got construction spending and final manufacturing PMI today. I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. The OPEC JMMC meetings could move the markets since it is energy prices that are the topic, but we'll see. All right, so that's about it for the pre-market. I'll jump into the coaching room here in a couple of minutes, but just for those of you who are newer, every morning in the pre-market, I start off on YouTube. This pre-market broadcast is publicly available, so anyone can join if you want, friends, relatives, whatever. But in here, I just kind of go over what type of stocks we want to look at, specifically targeting to watch at the open. The logic here is that basically, if you want to be effective at day trading, it's really important to have an idea of what might be moving at the opening bell. If any of you ever seen the movie Wall Street, when they just before the bell rings, they have the guy on the manager, the floor manager on the intercom, basically talking about what could be moving this morning, who got downgraded, who got upgraded, what was happening during the European session, the Asian session, things like that, right? So in short, it's good to know what's moving pre-market, because a lot of times those are the ones that move right at the opening bell, and then after that you just keep looking for what comes up on the radar after. So not always, you can't really tell which way stocks are going to go at the open, but you just know that some of them are moving and which way they're moving. So you just want to see what they do once the bell rings, and then you go from there. So in the coaching room, of course, which I'm going to jump in just a second, for those of you who are part of our service, which I'm guessing are most of you here, we're going to go over specifically what we think we can do with any of these opportunities. We'll also go over some other topics regarding what's been happening for the group as far as your trading results, and go from there. All right, so I'm going to hop over to there a little early today. I'm going to sign off here from YouTube since I don't really have anything else to go over. And everyone, Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the coaching room here in just a second.